Oh my God, welcome to the Bluejay Banter postgame show. We're live at Let It Fly. This place was rocking during the game. Just an outstanding atmosphere. What a triple overtime win for the Jays. Tim Kruger along with Ross Ferrarini joining again. Ross, what the hell did you think of that?
Fun. I don't have enough adjectives really to describe the game. Unbelievably gutsy, tough, just get it done at all costs win from this team. Really, I mean, if you're a fan, it feels like, you and I have talked about this. It feels like kind of the sentiment around the fan base for the whole year really has just been kind of negative, just kind of bad. And I don't know how you're not proud to be a fan or an alum after that type of game. I mean, because they had every opportunity to fold. I thought that was one of the most poorly officiated games I've ever watched.
Yeah, our worst call of the night is going to take about 10 minutes.
I wouldn't even know where to start on worst call of the night. So, but just really proud of the guys. I mean, that's an unbelievable, just stay together, grit it out, get crap done type of win.
And the good thing is you won that game, but you can watch that film and just see more growth that we can make in a quick hurry with just little adjustments by the players and the coaches too. I mean, so, hey, welcome. Glad if you're watching on YouTube, make sure and hit that subscribe button. We had our biggest viewing ever for the last one, so we want to double back on that. Use the chat feature down below. Send us your messages. We'll be happy to answer all your questions and so forth. We're going to have our regular segments, worst call of the night, as we mentioned, unsung hero, and opponent preview. Want to thank our great sponsors, Care Minders, Home Healthcare, Equitable Bank, and Godfather's Pizza. Jays 97-94 in some circles. That was a Jays three-point spread.
Depending on
the three number by that guy who can't shoot at the end helped everybody out, helped the people who were losing out, hurt the people who were winning. I had the under lock, stock, barrel wrapped up until we decided to go extra overtimes.
Yeah, that's when you bet unders, that's kind of the risk you take.
That's the risk you take. You are absolutely right. What an effort by Kalkbrenner tonight.
Yeah, Kalk. I thought the past number of games he just hasn't really looked like himself.
No.
But God, he was really, really good tonight. I mean, I thought. What did he end up with? I think 7 or 8 blocks. A number of them on Kadari Richmond, really in crunch time and in overtime. As Kadari is trying to get downhill and finish at the rim, he was that presence there that if he wasn't blocking his shot, he was at least scaring him a little bit and altering it. So, but I thought Kalk finished well. I thought he ran the floor well. Just a really, you're right, just a really, really good game out of him. Unbelievable game. I thought from Stephen Ashworth. I think I don't know that he finished shooting from the floor all that well, maybe 4 for 10 from the floor.
Yeah, he missed. But he missed a few that he probably should have made because they were open looks.
But other than that, I thought
made the huge bucket.
Made a massive 3 in triple overtime and
made a huge bucket to get us to overtime.
Well, he made a huge bucket to get us to overtime, which he got fouled on, by the way, which was unbelievable that they didn't call that. But I thought Stephen was really, really good tonight, and I thought Trey made some really nice plays.
Trey was Trey.
Yeah,
tonight.
Trey was exactly. He was kind of back to himself tonight. Really kind of made things happen. Offensively when we needed it, and it's really good because I thought this was uncharacteristically, I've been the biggest Baylor fan on the planet. I think he's the guy that we rely on most games to just really get things done. Baylor was a little bit more quiet tonight, so what a win.
Yeah, I thought Trey was still not kind of himself, and then he drove to the hole and made that spinner off the glass underneath with it heavily guarded. I thought, okay, there's the Trey that we know. And then he started hitting outside shots. It was just huge.
Yeah. He hit a couple of huge threes. I'm trying to remember it, all the different overtimes what happened. I'm kind of getting them all confused. But, he hit a huge 3. I can't remember if it was double or triple overtime. He hit a huge 3. I thought he played fantastic defense and double overtime, and we blew the 4-point lead, and they called him for a foul on the 3. I thought that was an awful call, and he was standing straight up like this, and Dawes kind of just kicked his feet out. But It is what it is.
I just wish on that play he doesn't even get close to that. Let him shoot that, because at that point there was 11 seconds left. We're up by 4. If he makes it, we're still up by 1. Although later we showed we couldn't get the ball in bounds. So, but there were so many ebbs and flows. Like I told you, I gave up 4 times. The two major ones that stick with me that were gut checks, like you mentioned it, gut. When we went down 9, I mean, they went on a 13-0 run again, and people talk about this, but we were disjointed. We were out of sync. Like, I just don't understand why Mac doesn't call a timeout. I just don't get it. But at any rate, he kind of got bailed out with Steven getting the cut in his eye, because then they took a timeout.
Yeah.
And then the other huge one was when we're in the third overtime, we're down 5. Because after we had 2 chances to put them away in 1 and 2, and then we're going down 5, I'm thinking, okay, this could be it. We might not have anything left.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought we had done all those tough things to give ourselves a chance to win, and then we got down 5, and I said, man, it looks like we're probably going to come up short unless we get a miracle here. And obviously made things happen, but at the end of the day, the free throws, I think they are a tad concerning at times.
But I thought at the end, we did the right thing, and Ashworth did the right thing. He didn't give up the ball.
Right.
Okay, yeah, he missed one. He's missed, 3 all year, okay? He's going to make most of them, okay? He's going to make 80%.
I mean, there's zero question when the game is really on the line, I think of the 3 main guards, he's the one who
shoots 95% from 3. Yeah.
From the free throw line.
Yeah, and Trey, I know, is going to make his fair share too. He struggled a little bit of late, but Kalkbrenner's the guy who's got to start making more, because he's getting fouled a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Inside, they're being very physical with him, and he's got to start making more of those, and it'll just help the team immensely.
I think on the timeout thing with Mac, there's kind of 2 schools of thought with coaches. One school of thought, and you see probably more coaches do this than the other, which I'll get to in a second. More coaches probably tend to skew more cautious, okay? So if they give up a couple of buckets in a row and it feels like the crowd's getting into it and momentum's maybe going to change, most are going to be very cautious and just take one, okay? The other school of thought, this is kind of the old school Phil Jackson school of thought. He's talked about this.
Let him play through it.
Let him play through it. You're big boys. You got to kind of figure it out a little bit. There are some other coaches. I would say Mac is obviously probably would be one of them. I would say there's probably more coaches that skew to the cautious side that I just mentioned. But I do think there is some value in letting them play through it and developing a little bit of toughness and being like, put your big boy pants on. You got a big crowd screaming in your face.
And I've never been a guy, like a lot of the fan base is, complain about it almost every game. I've never been like that.
Yeah.
But the last 2, that last one at UConn, when we were clearly rattled, throwing the ball away. I mean, he just needed to take a timeout and settle everybody down. He didn't do that. And today I thought, we're down. We gave up those 3 points at the end of the first half. We'd have had a nice lead going to halftime, so now it's only 4, and then they come right out. That first 4 minutes is so important. I just thought that was a perfect opportunity to stop that run before it got too far. And, man, we got down 9, and I thought, well, now it's probably too late. But we hit a couple threes in a row. Yeah. That's the 3-point shot, right? Well, we hit 4 in a row there to take the lead, I believe, or tie the game. And that was the thing.
Oh, that run we were down 9.
Yeah, and what concerned me, though, those last 8 minutes was we didn't seem to be able to get any stops for a while there. And that was like, oh, man, we're just not getting any stops. If they're gonna let Richmond push off like that on every drive, he's basically unstoppable.
Yep.
If they're gonna let him do that.
He's a good player.
He is a good player, but if you're gonna let him push off, he's really a good player.
No, I agree. He and Dawes too. Dawes gets a little.
And they finally called it on. They finally called it on.
It's a really fine. I mean, listen. I just said I thought it was a really poorly officiated game. Everybody obviously is constantly focused on the refs and the missed calls and the calls that were fouled that weren't. I will say this: they have a really tough job on whether something's an offensive foul or not, whether it's an actual charge or whether it's a push off, because these guys they're being defended so physically that it's almost virtually impossible to gain any separation without at least using your forearm a little bit. Now, you can't obviously outright push the
And that's what
defender
he
away.
did a couple of times.
Yeah, and so it's a really hard call to be in. Man, the other guy we haven't talked about that I thought was unbelievable for us in overtimes was Mason. He came up with a huge rebound. He had a huge three, I think, in double OT.
Yep. And he's a guy who hasn't been in the games down when they're tight down the stretch. We usually have Farabello in there. So that was nice to see him get those minutes and get that experience in those tight games.
I think he was in at the very end against Villanova, but yeah, usually it's Fran. I do like that we do feel Stephen Ashworth looks way more comfortable.
Yeah,
he just does than the first 8 to 10 games of the year, and I felt like the fan base, everybody. It seemed like everybody I talked to was just scapegoating Ashworth.
He's not a D1 point guard,
and he's looked a lot better. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
The past number of games.
Absolutely.
Now, there are some times where maybe he gets caught picking up his dribble and he's small but
he's gotten much better at that though. He's gotten much better. He's feeling more comfortable within the offense, initiating the offense. And you know what,
obviously
Russ?
shown an ability to shoot. He can shoot better, and he will, I think.
Yes. You know what though? Where I think he's been is defensive end.
I agree.
He's stopping guys now. Like before, he'd be chasing them from behind. He's getting in front. The UConn game at the beginning, he forced a couple of turnovers. I mean, he's getting in front of those guys. Like today with Dawes, he was hounding him. I mean, he made it tough on Dawes.
I agree.
The other thing, too, is somebody goes, well, Nembhard was so much faster. I'm not sure Nembhard dribbled the ball up the court faster than Steven. Steven really dribbles the ball up the court fast. He gets it down there fast. He's just not athletic like Nembhard is. That's the difference.
Yep.
I mean, you're trading shooting for athleticism. A lot of games this year, it would have been nice to have R2's athleticism. But I don't think people, I think people are going to back off him a little bit from finishing after tonight when he made that shot that sent the game into overtime and actually should have won the game for us. But Max, let's get to some of our chats. Martin says, great win. Shouldn't have gotten to 3 OTs. I totally agree. Got past the refs, their mistakes, and won a huge game to stay in the hunt for the conference title. He said, the whole game was bad calls. They had two guys that I've never seen out there before. That one guy, I've never seen him do a Big East game. Now, Driscoll's been around forever. And he seems to have lost, to my, because I pay attention to the officials a lot, he seems to have lost a lot on his fastball. I thought he was really probably one of the top refs in the Big East like 3 or 4 years ago. Every game I watch him now, I don't know how you cannot call a foul on Kalkbrenner when he went up for that shot and got fouled twice.
That was probably...
and the ref is standing 5 feet from him.
That was probably the most fired up I've seen Mac in a really long time.
I thought he was going to get teed.
I'm trying to think back of a time I can remember him being really that upset.
And he got fired up earlier on 1, too, and I forget what actually happened. That was really bad.
What it was. It was another foul at the rim. I thought it was probably. I think it was also on. They thought it was going to be on Kalk. But I remember the instance that you're referencing.
Yeah. Boy, Kalk blocked a couple dunks tonight, which was pretty damn impressive.
Here's okay. Obviously, I just said at the beginning, I thought it was a very poorly officiated game. Yeah. And it was. I thought they missed call. They had calls go against Seton Hall too. I mean, that's just the facts.
I think Farabello traveled on the timeout.
Correct. I will also say this: it is really, really difficult for refs to officiate teams like Seton Hall or a St. John's because they are so physical. And
would you put UConn in that?
I would put UConn in there. A perfect example is another team like an Iowa State that are they're really physical with you. They're basically, they're essentially saying the refs aren't going to call a foul every single trip up the floor. And, for instance, when we were at home against St. John's, I thought they called it, the game went long because they called a lot of fouls on St. John's because St. John's was fouling a lot. So it's, it is what it is. I guess what I'm trying to say is the refs, these teams want to put the refs in a position to not have to make a foul call every single possession down the floor.
Yeah.
Perfect example, Mason getting completely shoved.
On. Oh my word.
Which then led to, obviously, well, they made a layup, but they called a foul. Or was that was the? No, that was off the Fran inbound. Excuse me.
Yes.
But when Mason got shoved, that also led.
Yeah,
to
that
the
was on a
bucket.
rebound.
Yeah,
He got, yeah, he absolutely got shoved. I just, oh my word. I posted something at bluejaybanter.com. And by the way, if you're looking for like a great place to go when we lose to kind of vent, or when we win to join in and talk to people, go to bluejaybanter.com. Our message board is the best out there for Creighton fans. So go out there, sign up today. Plus you get all the inside practice reports, recruiting information, and so forth. So check it out today. Go to bluejaybanter.com. I posted something on the board this morning, like saying, hey, look, I know everybody's saying, this is a must win, yada, yada. But I said, let's just look at this just for a second. Even if we lost today, okay, which we didn't, we won. But even if we lost today, things really flip around for us now. You saw them during the game. They posted the next 4 games for us, or 5. They're all winnable games.
Yep.
Because now we're playing that mid-tier teams rather than the upper tier. We only have to go twice on the road to the upper tier game, St. John's and Villanova, and that's not death row. I mean, to me, death row in this league is Marquette and UConn. We're done with that.
We're done with those. Yep.
There's teams like Seton Hall. They haven't played anybody in the top 5 on the road yet. So they've got potentially a lot of losses ahead of them. UConn's got a tough game tonight at Villanova. They have to go on the road to several places.
Is that at Wells Fargo? Or is that
I would imagine. I would be shocked if it wasn't. So, things can flip around in this league. And I said, hey, if we finish second in this league,
yes, it is.
That's a pretty good effort in this league. Because I've been doing some pre-work for our mock selection committee coming up next month, or in a month, and talking to guys around the country who watch basketball every night. And they've all said, my God, the Big East is just absolutely loaded. And the reason the Big East is loaded too is because other than Georgetown and DePaul, and Georgetown's playing better now, it's a tough out every night, all the way up and down the league. Yeah. And only the Big 12 can say that right now. And so,
the SEC is good, but kind of top heavy.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
No, you're right though. I mean, the league is, and listen, I feel like I shouldn't even be saying this, because obviously there is still a world where we could go on an amazing run and end up finishing first. I would say this is absolutely, and most people would agree with me, anybody with a brain, this is absolutely UConn's league to lose at this point.
But, maybe UConn's peaking too early. You don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen a month from now. You don't know.
Well, Mac kind of alluded to it in his post-game comments from the UConn. I mean, of every team I've watched, I mean, they're far and away the most complete team I think I've seen.
I think so.
There's a couple of other teams.
I'd put Arizona right there, too.
Arizona's right there. I think Houston, obviously, is a very, very good team. Purdue.
I just think Houston's going to lose. They're in the Big 12 now. There's going to be nights where they're going to go, wow, in the AAC, this is a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, we're off course. But yeah, no, you're right about the schedule. I think there's definitely – no, listen, Xavier's a very formidable foe. I mean, their record is.
But then they can play like last night.
Yeah, their record is a little interesting to figure out. I've watched them a number of times. They're very inconsistent.
They're very young too.
Yeah, I think that there's times where they look really good. And there's times where they look really, really average. So yeah. Hopefully this kind of win can kind of spur us to.
And I'm just thinking, I think we're really glad we got that road game at Georgetown over with when we did. Because they are starting to play better. And there's going to be one of these top teams, and maybe 2, that lose at Georgetown this year. I really think so. They're every game they're improving. Every game they're getting better. And they've got a couple guys who can play. And you got Cooley on the sideline. I think they're going to be okay. Hey, if you're on YouTube, thanks so much. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button so we can share this with everybody. Let's get back to the chats. Keep them coming, by the way. They're great comments. CJ San said, we took care of the ball. And listen to this stat. Their guards were 13 of 52. That's 25%.
It's not very good.
That's a very good defensive effort.
Yes.
We've strung together now 4 or 5 really good defensive. Like against UConn, we played good defense. We just couldn't get a rebound. Ashworth keeps improving. Hulk was great. Gutsy bounce back performance. Hope this energizes the back half. And like I said, this next run here.
Did Fred and Isaac get in today?
Fred got in a little bit.
Isaac did not.
Isaac got in a little bit. He was about going to jack up a running three and then pump faked and then passed it. He wasn't in very long, though. But, I think
for some reason I'm not
that's why it's important, like when we play these home games against Xavier and DePaul, guys like Isaac and Fred get a lot of run.
Right.
Get a lot of experience. I'm going to flip back to Wednesday. Here's one thing that really bothered me. We're getting pummeled by 20 plus. We put Jason Green in the game. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that. But to me, that was a perfect spot to put Isaac in, whose minutes have shrunk to nothing. Isaac was coming on. The coaches admitted that. They said, he's starting to come. He's starting to get better. Then his minutes shrunk, and now that would have been a great opportunity for him to get minutes against the best team in the country, pressure defense, get used to it, get used to guarding quicker guy. It just would have been good. Yeah. It wasn't going to affect the outcome of the game. And we've already saw Jason the last few games. And you and I have said this over and over. Guys, he's a very talented kid. He could be a great player for Creighton, but he's just not ready yet, I don't know. That was me. Casey joins in. Toughness from top to bottom. Really grinding it out and crashing the boards and taking it to the hole with a purpose. Rebounding was better today, but I think it was going to be better just by osmosis because Seton Hall's not as good a rebounding team as UConn is and doesn't have the size that UConn has to rebound. There were still a couple of times, especially in those overtimes where we let guys just shove us around underneath there and get rebounds. We just can't do that. We can't, it seems like we can't, on the rebounding side of it, and tell me if I'm wrong, we can't keep the concentration on the fundamentals of rebounding for 40 minutes. It seems like we come out, we know we've worked on this in practice, so we come out the first 5, 10 minutes, 15, do really well, and then when it gets to crunch time, we forget to put a body on a guy. We forget to attack and go get the ball. I kind of thought,
there might be some of that.
I kind of thought, everybody's talking boxing out. When I watched the game again, the boxing out against like UConn, it wasn't that bad. The problem was UConn attacks the ball. They just say, I know you want the ball, I'm going to get it.
First of all, it's really, really, really difficult to be an effective rebounding team against a team that's a really good offensive rebound team, especially a really good offensive rebounding team with physical, athletic guys. It's extremely difficult. Seton Hall kind of has that profile. UConn obviously has that profile. We do an unbelievable amount of things well on our roster. I don't look at our roster and see a very imposing, athletic and physical team. Do you?
Not like with Mahoney and Jefferson.
Certainly not. No, correct. Trust me, we've had guys over the past number of years that would fit that bill. Denzel Mahoney, Damian Jefferson, Keyshawn Feazell, even a guy like Kelvin Jones.
Kaluma.
Off the bench. Kaluma, obviously, another huge one.
Yep.
I don't, so I'm sure you probably agree. I don't look at this team and really see any of those types of guys.
Yeah.
Obviously.
We're built different. I mean, we have strengths in different areas than those teams. Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. But the thing that upsets me, Ross, is we had a UConn guy chime in on our last postgame saying, well, Newton's our top offensive rebounder at X a game and da-da-da-da-da. I don't care. You can't just let him put up a shot and walk in there and get a rebound. You've got to throw a body on him, But I thought today we did a better job. We fell asleep a couple times, but much better job. But again, a lot of grit out there today. There just was.
Do you want to talk? I was going to say, do you want to talk Unsung Heroes? There's really no.
Yeah, let's do Unsung Heroes sponsored by Careminders. Who do you got? Or you can do a piece, or you can do a part of somebody's game.
I'm going to say, just in general, probably the unsung hero was, and I know this is different, but just Stephen Ashworth, just for the simple fact that, again, we always talk about the flack that he seems to get from the fan base for whatever reason. He didn't even, it's not like he had some 20-point game. I think he ended up with like 12 or something, maybe. He had 7 assists, 7 or 8 assists. He was really clutch. I thought he handled the ball well. I thought his defense was fantastic. I just felt comfortable with him having the ball. You know what I mean? And he just made some things happen that, whether it was the layup in overtime or was that in regulation?
Regulation.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying.
Because that was 3 seconds.
I'm all confused. I'm
Because
getting
that was
regulation, first overtime, second overtime,
The reason
third
I
overtime,
remember
I'm all
that,
confused.
there was 3 seconds left, and then we had fouls to give, and we fouled.
Okay, so between that and then the huge 3 that he hit in triple overtime.
Yes.
I don't know. Calk's, I think, obviously the MVP, given the stat line he put up. Trey was incredible, too.
And, speaking of Calk, that's one thing, and we'll get to care minors here in a minute, but Calk, I think, being more in, we've talked about getting Calk more involved, but it's kind of just been lip service. I mean, today we got Calk involved.
Yeah.
And we had to because we had a big advantage in there. And when we got Calk involved more on the offensive end, he was so much better defensively.
Yep.
Okay? So I think that's a lesson learned there, right? And we've got some teams coming up. Xavier doesn't have an imposing guy in the middle, so to speak.
No, they've got
that one guy's pretty big, but he's not.
Taller
but I mean, they're guys
that are kind of picking fives.
Yeah. And we get into.
I think McKnight is like 6'9", but 6'9", 6'10",
But we're going to play DePaul, obviously. I mean, so we got some games where we're just going to have to keep with that mode. So that's Unsung Hero. It's sponsored today by Care Minders Home Health Care. When you're in need of care for your injured, ill, or senior loved one, reach out to Care Minders Home Health Care. Their agency is comprised of certified caregivers with many years of experience. You'll receive versatile, flexible, and customized care. And that care will give you such a peace of mind, as we mentioned last time, with this ice cold weather. Wouldn't it, if you have a service right now and you're worried about your loved one, wouldn't it be great to have care minders that have a peace of mind to know that they're being taken care of, even in this horrible, nasty weather? Someone's going to be there. So give a call today, 402-532-1383, or go to caremindersnebraska.com. Okay, let's just at least attempt worst call of the game. It's sponsored by Godfather's Pizza.
I'm trying to remember all of
the
them.
call. I mean, the two that Mac got the most upset with was that one. I'm trying to remember the first one that Mac blew a top on, that I thought he was going to get technical on too.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. But I don't remember the exact one.
I remember the third one he blew his top on was we would have won the game. Steven came down the floor. The guy just fell on his back, and they didn't blow the whistle. And then we got a timeout. Remember at half court? I would forget if it was a second or third overtime.
Yes.
But Steven would have been fouled. We were in the bonus. He'd have made both free throws. Game over.
I'm going to be honest. The more I think about it, the most egregious one, and I cannot for the life of me remember if it was the double overtime.
They're all running together now.
Was the more I think about it was Mason getting shoved. I mean, he got shoved out of bounds.
And that would have been our ball. Instead, it turned out to be their ball, and they scored.
I mean, it was, and I even said this too. I know you said, "Why are you even that close?" I thought the foul they called on Trey when they shot the 3 when we were up 4. I thought that was really bad. If you watch the replay,
I'll have to watch the replay. That I didn't.
Completely kicked his feet out. Trey did nothing but stand there and put his hand up. I thought that was really, really bad.
Hey, what did you think about? I hate to keep going back to UConn, but about the call. When, I forget who it was, kicked their feet out and they called the offensive foul. Boy, you never see that. And I was so happy that somebody finally called that on someone,
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Here's one. Nobody in here, they were getting upset at every call, but nobody really yelled in this whole place except me on this one. I think it was third overtime. Richmond came down. Steven got in front of him. He just plowed over Steven and they called a blocking foul. I did not get that. I didn't think he was moving.
Yeah, the one, yes, I know which one you're talking about, the one where Steven tried to get set. The other one that was probably pretty egregious was the foul, the block call on Trey when Richmond just completely barreled into the lane.
Yes.
And just threw up some nonsense. And,
yeah.
I mean, they probably should have called it travel.
Oh, my God. That was the other thing today. Have you seen a team get more bounces on the rim than how many shots did they throw and it hit the back lip and it just died right there and rolled in? Like normally those clank off.
I will say this also, and you could obviously hear their crowd, the mic kept picking up some guy that was really giving it to the refs about some of their calls. But in fairness to them, too, I thought Trey got away with a couple of big travels.
Yes.
There was a couple that they did not call.
I thought he's traveled a lot this year that they haven't called, frankly. And
all's well that ends well.
Fran traveling on that key timeout. That was clutch. That would have probably been the ball game.
Yeah, I agree.
But, you could go back and forth. That would have been the game. That would have been the game. That would have been the game. Did you see Patino's post-game conference after when he was here?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he can't.
Did you see him fall to the floor after their missed 3 at the buzzer today?
No.
I mean, God, he must really.
By the way,
losing
what the heck did Marquette choke that game away? They were in total control of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he said it the best I've ever heard a coach say it. When I rewatch games, there's 12 calls against us, 12 calls for us.
Yeah,
and that's just the way it is. Now, his thing about, I never yell at the ref. That's BS. He yells at the refs all the time. I see him yell at the refs all the time. So that's crap. But he's right. Calls are going to go both ways. But you just got to ref the game more. The guy who missed the Kalk foul, when the 2 guys fouled him, then called a ticky-tack one on Ashworth right in front of the Creighton. I'm like, what in the hell are you looking at? I think you could see Max Lips ask him, what are you doing? I mean, yeah. Worst call of the game. It's sponsored by Godfather's Pizza Pie Piled High. They have everything to feed your entire family. Check them out today. Order online at godfathers.com or stop by your nearest location. Great time to do it with all these football games starting here in a minute. They have food to feed your whole family. They've got pizza, wings, cheese sticks, dessert, and more. Check them out, godfatherspizza.com, or go to one of their locations today. Let's move on to opponent preview. We talked about Xavier coming in. They're 10-8. I wrote this up before they played last night, 10-8, and I almost had to go back and change it to 9-9. But they were able to scoop in a basket at the end to nip Georgetown at home, by the way. So they're 4-3 in the conference. Nobody talks about them. They're equal with Creighton and Marquette right now. It's kind of crazy. And St. John's. I mean, it's crazy. But if you haven't really watched them this year, you're going to tune in or go to the game. I'm sorry, it's a home game. Finally, we have a home game. Seems like we've been on the road forever. You're going to go to the game and go, I don't know any of these Xavier players, because for years it seems like Xavier's always had 3 or 4 guys back you recognize.
Yep.
The only guy you're probably going to recognize is Desmond Claude, who's having a terrific year and who's a big stud for them.
Yeah,
but Quincy Oliveri is their leading scorer.
Swain played for them last year too. He comes off the bench, but it's a mostly with Hunter and Fremantle out, it's mostly a kind of a newer roster.
They're shooting 35% from 3, so somewhat similar to Seton Hall. But they are much better from the field. They're 44% from the field. So they're making their fair share of shots. Here's something to look out for, and something that we were very good today. I don't know how it all finished up, but late into one of the overtimes, I saw we only had 4 turnovers, which was outstanding. They have 12 a game. So there's a chance for us, even though we don't
force any.
We don't pressure.
Though, yeah.
But still, it tells me that team's probably, look, half of ours we've had over the last 5-6 games.
They like to
just
get,
been
they like
terrible.
To get on run too.
Terrible passes. I mean, it's
decently
just,
fast-paced game.
They do still have Sean Miller. So hey, any team that has Sean Miller is a threat to win.
That's very true.
So we got to keep this thing rolling. We need a big crowd Tuesday night. The weather's supposed to be nice.
Thank God.
So a great opportunity for you to get down to CHI and watch a great game. Let's check and see if we got any last-minute chats before we get out of here.
We should ask Val if he even had a worse call of the game.
Honestly, was that one that you mentioned where I forgot his name, but he ran through Trey and they called it?
Yeah.
Oh, the block. Yeah, they called the block on Trey. Yep.
Oh, we do have. Okay. Casey says, great game after the UConn debacle. Hopefully gives them confidence and toughness we need to win the league. Again, I'm just saying, and I'll mention something in a minute here. The game shows that we can beat anyone when we play tough and play a clean game. Our departed buddy Zach, who did his last show the other night, says, best win of the season. Question for me, I don't know why me, but do we have any 2025 recruits visiting anytime soon? I don't think so. I think there is one possibility, however, and I'll bring that up in the next show. Casey says Kalk got hit twice on the way to the rim. Mac blew up. Even the trash announcers said it was a foul. I don't mind. I don't mind Sims. Sims is a DC guy. He's okay. Who was the guy? Was it Tariq? Was the guy today? The other guy?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm
oh, he's saying the one I said about Richmond going in and plowing into Steven. He said, I just ran that back multiple times. It was clearly a charge. And I didn't, no one really got.
I gotta start recording.
I guess
these,
there's so many calls. I like to a lot of games because when I run them back, I'm like, oh wow, I remembered this differently watching the game the first time than actually what happened. Or, oh, I guess we didn't make so many bad passes as I thought. Or, our rebounding was better than I thought, or worse than I thought, whatever the case is. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask if you had a chance to watch any of the other games while our game was on.
I was watching, kind of keeping an eye on Marquette, and then our game got crazy, and then I missed the ending to the Marquette game. So I was like, because they were up 10, and all of a sudden I look, and it's a 1-point game. I saw the Texas.
Three games.
Saw the Texas ending.
3 games all at once. That's why you should be at a place like Let It Fly for it that has a million TVs going on.
Yes.
Because I was at home and I only had 2 screens, and there was 3 games that were all crazy at once. Obviously ours. I'm not going to switch from ours. Marquette, St. John's, and then Texas Baylor, all at the exact same time. So, I guess what I'm saying is, if there's tons of games on, you should probably just watch here.
Yes, absolutely. The Texas finish was crazy, and then Ross, you're probably gonna laugh at me, but I took Iowa today. I thought today was the day that they might upset Purdue because they've been playing so much better. And I'm looking, it's a 10-point game, and then you know what else popped in my head? These are the kind of games Purdue loses. They're up by 10, 7 minutes to go. Yeah. They forget about throwing it into Edey, and the next thing you know, it's a tie game. And Iowa's the kind of team that can do it to you because they can hit threes. But when you give it to Edey that low, it's not going to matter.
Also, we want, I know this is counterintuitive to fans. We want Nebraska to keep winning.
Yes, I know.
We want that
because they've slumped a little bit in the net. So
they were really.
This will be a nice win for them if they can get this.
Really bad against Iowa about a week ago, and then they've looked. Then obviously had a big blown loss at Rutgers too. So hopefully they can get back.
That was the bad one. I just want to mention. I was mentioning. We got to hang in there. I was looking at this last night when I wrote that post on bluejaybanter.com about, here's what team schedules are and so on and so forth. And I started looking at the standings and I started figuring this out. There are 6 teams right now that we've kind of identified. We're not identifying Xavier just because I don't think they have the pieces to be one of those upper echelon teams. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of dismissing Providence because, man, they've shown without Hopkins they're in a little trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 6 teams in the upper. So one of those teams is going to play Wednesday night.
Correct.
Okay. And one of those teams is going to play the last place team, DePaul. They're going to win, and then they're going to have to face number 3, number 2, and number 1 to win the title. That's going to be a tough road to hoe. Conversely, why you want to finish in the top 2 is because if you end up with number 3, you're going to have to do the same thing. Probably beat the 6th team, who's one of the better teams in the league. A Seton Hall, a St. John's, somebody like that. Mm-hmm. And St. John's in the Garden, okay? Then you're going to have to beat the second best team in the league and then the first best team in the league, okay? So if you can get in that second slot, you get a somewhat easier first game. And then you'll have to beat the third best team. I think that's a big deal. I really do. So just keep that in mind if maybe UConn runs away with this thing. Finishing second's a big deal for the Big East tournament.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for all the people that joined the chat. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, a like button. Share this with your friends so they can view it too, so we can run up the views like we did on our last program. I want to thank all our sponsors, CareMinders Home Health Care, Equitable Bank, we take banking personally, and Godfather's Pizza Pie Piled High. We'll be right back here Tuesday night. It's a Tuesday game, 7:30 tip. So we'll be back about 9:45, somewhere in there. Join us again on our YouTube channel, and we'll have a wonderful post game. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the great weekend, people.